The ZA Tech Show is made possible by Vodacom. Power to you at vodacom.co.za. And by BlackBerry. Love doing business on your BlackBerry smartphone at blackberry.co.za. Good evening and welcome to episode number 184 of the ZA Tech Show. My name is Simon Dingle. Good to be with you in this fine podcast happening whenever you're listening to it, really. With me this evening, Andy Hadfield,
Hello,
designated drinker.
Yes, it's my favorite wine shirt.
At andyhatfield.co.com.
Yeah,
Just
.co.
Sorry. Didn't you get andyhatfield.co.za as well?
No.
Somebody go and set up a link farm this instant.
I did get realtimewine.mobi recently.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I need to get the .com as well.
Yeah. Well, good to have you with us, Andy. What are we drinking tonight? You supplied wine, as you always do.
Yeah, tonight is a Clos
Very
Malvern
graciously.
Le Café Pinotage 2010.
Nice.
It's probably the best of those coffee Pinotage kind of things.
Nice. Thank you. It's a good wine.
Oh, it's tasty.
You always bring us wine.
Mix it with Coke. It's
Make
even
us
better.
feel very special. Until we spill some on the console and they ban it from the premises. But until then, feeling special. Sam Beckbessinger is here from Quirk.
Hello, Simon.
How are you?
I'm wonderful, thank you.
That's good. How things at Quirk?
Busy. It's the end of year, but fun
Right.
busy.
Lots of
always.
clients to keep happy.
People
And
who've just realized that it's nearly December. so-
budgets to milk
Yeah.
before
You
next
know how
year
it
starts.
goes. You know how it goes.
I do indeed. Good to have you with us, Sam. Aki Anastasiou is back
Hi, good evening. How's it, guys? It's great to be here.
from
And
Talk
thanks for
Radio
the-
702.
Yeah. It's nice. It's lucky to see you both, all three of you, actually. And thank you for the wine, Andy. It is superb.
My pleasure.
Very, very good stuff.
Aki, I never know what
Slurpalicious.
site to punt for you. 702 doesn't deserve to benefit from your awesomeness, don't you?
No, thanks, man.
At Aki Anastasiou on Twitter. That's a good one, hey?
Yeah, that's like kind of my main hangout, but I'm developing a few other things which will come
I've
out in
heard
the
some
next
stories.
Ooh.
You
Yes.
can't tell us tonight.
Well,
You
no,
have
it's
to
just
tell us.
it's just a blog, and then there's
Just a blog.
It's a bit of a blog, and yeah, just expanding on your profile. But it's there's so many places that you have to be in business today. Whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook. It's actually overwhelming sometimes. I must tell you guys.
Yeah.
That it is.
Yeah,
Become an air traffic controller in your life. You know?
data traffic controller.
Yeah.
But
Data
yeah,
traffic.
so thanks. Nice to be here.
Yeah, good to have you, Aki. So, where should we start? Let's start with bandwidth this week because Vodacom, of course, made a big announcement. And AfricaCom is happening in Cape Town this week. They're warming up for that as we're sitting here. Vodacom launching a 20 gigabyte package, 3G package for, call it 500 Rand, 499 Rand. Prepaid only. They say it's a promotion, so it'll only be until January. But this is progressive stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, well,
Looking
it's the rock bottom data prices we've been expecting for a while now. Well,
Yeah.
getting there.
Right. So ATA's had a 200 Rand 10 gig package.
20 Rand a gig. What does that work out to per meg?
Oh, it doesn't matter. Whatever.
Divided by 1,000.
Cheap.
A few cents.
Yeah.
I think nobody looks at it in megs anymore, right? We all look at...
Except Wi-Fi. So Wi-Fi you still buy in 10-minute increments or 100 megs.
yeah.
And it disappears when you download your email. It's crazy.
Right.
So I feel very sorry for people buying... Well, I've got a 200 meg MTN bundle. It disappears quickly.
Yeah, I don't know what
Yeah.
you do with 200 megs.
But you know what? Having said that, it's kind of interesting times you're living at. I mean, you compare it to what we were paying for data last year, mobile data. I mean, who would have thought that there would be packages like 20
That
gigs at this
quickly.
price?
Yeah.
And you look at what ATA have done, and I'm hearing whispers as well that there's something massive coming from ATA towards the end of this month as well. It's going to blow the market up again. So it's great that there's this competition and everybody's
Absolutely.
pushing each other's
Let them
boundaries.
battle. Yeah, I think what was interesting for me as well was to look at Vodacom's reported figures on how much data from mobile phones is
Fascinating,
taking
eh?
up of their overall, or making up their revenue overall.
It's like 14% of the revenue, I think.
Yeah, and in
is-
over 1 year, I mean, it's incredible. And
Yeah.
4.1 million smartphones now on their network.
Well,
Huge.
Arthur Goldstuck reckons 5.5 by the end of the year. So Oh, that's Vodacom's network
Only
alone.
Vodacom.
Yeah.
Vodacom's
So that makes sense.
38%
Yeah.
growth in data.
Yeah.
Huge. Totally huge.
Look, this 20 gigs, and I spoke to Arthur earlier on this evening about it, and I think he agrees with me, is it's a big experiment by Vodacom to see if they can, sustain the kind of users rushing onto the network like they're likely to see over the next couple of months. It's going to give them some very good metrics for how they should be structuring their broadband packages. See what the market reaction is, see how the network handles it, see what the kind of demand is, and also give people an experience of their network.
Yeah.
Now, of course, full disclosure, Vodacom is a sponsor of the ZA Tech Show. But just in my own practical experience of Vodacom's network, it does generally perform better than the other guys. I've been testing MTN's LTE network, which, of course, is a new, you can't really compare it to anything because it hasn't launched yet, but it's pretty amazing. Their network's fairly stable. Cell C really depends on the geography you're in. So at home, I get terrible performance out of Cell C, for example.
Oh, so do we.
Whereas in Sandton, it's pretty good.
At airports, it's amazing.
ATA performs pretty well by virtue of the fact that it's got Telkom as its core network, I think.
Yeah, and as long as you're near one of their towers, because their coverage is still growing. But I do tend to agree with you on that, Asai. I mean, Vodacom probably on average is.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Solid,
for consistency,
Yeah.
Vodacom has a very good network.
Yeah, it's so clever as well. I mean, what you're alluding to, it's giving people a taste of what you can do with 40 gigs.
Yeah.
And once you've 20 gigs. Sorry, I'm going to buy 2. Once you've tasted 20 gigs, you can't go back. So
also, I think that the 3G operators, the mobile operators, are going to put the ADSL guys under serious pressure. So I've got myself an uncapped account at AfriHost, and literally and I'm not pirating stuff. I'm just doing internet heavy work.
Yes.
And I get throttled within 2-3 days.
Yeah.
And I pretty much stay throttled.
Yeah, I have the
now,
same problem
throttled
with
means
Airwave.
I get 40k a second down.
I'm very, 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 very hurtful of the broadband situation in this country. It's like we were seeing so much progress being made and so much momentum, even until the beginning of this year. And then, and it's nice being able to get 3G packages at really good prices, but this is not what we need. We need uncapped internet that performs, that allows us to function every day.
Yeah, but this will put pressure back on the fixed line people as well. We hope so.
But you see what's going to happen as well is that, this West African cable system has now landed and it's in the point of being connected. I mean, I don't know what you guys have heard, but I'm hearing first quarter next year it's going to plug live into the network. And there you're going to start seeing the real benefits. We're going to literally double our capacity into South Africa. And from there you're going to start seeing, here and this is going to happen. And I think that you'll probably find the networks loosening up quite a bit. But it is frustrating when you want to, have that capacity to be able to just do something. And let's face it, right now, when a fixed line ADSL network works, it is superior to
Oh yeah.
but
when it
when you're
works,
not being
network.
throttled.
and when you're not throttled.
And when
yeah.
you're not throttled.
So this idea of streaming, video streaming, music streaming, I know some people are doing it. Brett does it quite a lot, but it's not a reality for me. I'm just constantly throttled, and it's look, half the reason I'm throttled is I'm trying to back up to the cloud with Carbonite.
Can I make a suggestion
still.
though, Andy? Is work out what your average usage is. I cancelled my AfriHost account. It was just I had a terrible experience as well. But work out what your average usage is.
Go to the capped.
And go to, if it's 60 gigs a month or 100 gigs a month, which I doubt yours would be, it's probably more like 40. And just go and buy 40 gigs of unshaped bandwidth every month.
Yeah.
And it just, this whole uncapped thing, nice idea, but they're too incompetent to make it work.
Yeah.
And it's also very confusing out there for the consumer because there's so much out there.
Right.
And everyone starts offering something, everybody takes on to that, and then a few months later their service starts slacking off, which we've seen happen over and over again.
Yes.
So there's no consistency.
So, Aki, I mean, you get asked the question all the time with your radio show, what connection people should look at for home right now. What are you telling them?
Well, again, it depends where you are. But I think your best bet is still ADSL. It is, as far as I'm concerned, the most stable, probably most cost-effective long-term, package. But it depends. Like Telkom have introduced their uncapped 4 meg line packages, which are more expensive. I think what are they coming in at? 2,000 Rand or something for uncapped.
Thereabouts.
But a 1 meg line is still pretty reasonable. But it depends on how much heavy usage you want to get. and then the mobile packages, which of course are also great, but then it depends where you are. But overall, I still think that ADSL is pretty rock solid. As long as it
you need
works.
copper, man.
For heavy users, though, because
Yes.
I imagine most of our listeners are probably quite heavy
Oh, yeah.
torrenters and gamers, and like all of us. So
Exactly.
for us, I don't know if ADSL is the best option anymore, which is strange. Of course, it should
Yeah.
be.
It's
It's still
in
got better
theory.
ping times, though, doesn't it?
You know what?
The
I was
latency.
doing an audit, a technology audit at home. That's a
What? You technology
audit.
audited.
Now, I compared. Have
Did
you
you
ever looked
pass?
into your Wi-Fi router? Have you ever looked into your Wi-Fi router? What you were using, say, 2 years ago, what you were using last year, and what you're using this year? And I am just amazed every single year at how many different devices are connecting to my home network.
Sure.
That are all sapping, pieces of my
It's
bandwidth
incredible,
away.
hey? It's your phone, it's your laptop,
It's your
it's your
Xbox.
desktop, it's your gaming console. It's
Yeah.
if
There's-
maybe you've got a
Tablets.
set-top box that connects
There's
as well.
a camera
It's-
as well now, and
Yeah.
there's just so many things that are connecting. It's quite amazing. And every time you bring a new smartphone into your network, you're still doing the updates, you're checking this,
Sure.
you're downloading apps. So there's a lot of stuff happening, And what say 5 years ago that I was having perhaps one or two devices. Today, I probably have more than 30 devices connected to my network at home.
I want to come check out your home, Aki.
No, but it's not difficult. You can count them.
It's
you
true.
just-
Sure.
It's true.
it's
Yeah.
not difficult to
And
have.
then they
30
all
on-
have to
Sure.
update. That's the big suck.
Exactly.
Well,
An
this is
iPad and two iPhones. So mine would be an iPad, two iPhones, two laptops, and a PS3.
Yeah.
That's a whack of updates every 2 weeks.
Exactly.
right. And we've been left behind, not just in the world, but in Africa as well. I mean, I was looking at Ookla's net results, which are up to the second almost, with what internet performance is like around the world.
Yeah.
And if you look at download speeds, for example, we are now fourth on the continent. So Ghana's number 1, Rwanda's number 2, Kenya's number 3, and we're number 4 for download speeds. But then when you look at quality of service, we're the only African country tracked in the top 65,
Yeah.
So it shows you how hybridized our local industry is. But it's just, I travel all the time. I see what's happening in other countries, even other African countries, and we are being left behind, but not just a little bit, in the dust. And I, in my own personal life, working from home and trying to get things done in South Africa, it's sometimes 3 days out of 5 where my work is seriously compromised by the fact that our operators are too piss poor to keep a connection up. It just it boggles the mind.
No, it
Look,
is.
And especially on the fixed line side.
At least
Yeah.
we're getting better. At least
We
it's
are.
not getting worse.
Yeah.
But the question is, if I had to take your fixed line away from your home right now, could you function adequately?
No.
You see.
You see, but I have 3G reception problems as well. So
Yeah. But even if you had a good, reasonable 3G and you
Yeah.
have all these connected devices onto the 3G, it's still not smooth
wireless
enough.
will never be as reliable
No,
as fixed
no.
line. You
Yeah.
know, it just
Yeah. You know what's totally tantalizing for me is that I happen to know that Neotel has a fiber cable that runs right at the door of my complex. Just the temptation to call some people,
One
some
day.
people to just hook up the last 5 meters.
But you're quite right. I mean, Simon, you're quite right. It's debilitating, and
Yeah.
and I just cannot understand why there's not such an urgency, to try and sort the problem out. And
well, you
move
see,
us
you've
up.
got an incumbent network that they're just not feeling the pinch. There's no pressure on them to sort it out because they
Yeah.
don't really have any competitors. They still don't. The Neotels of the world are not worried about consumers. They claim they are, but in
No.
practice, they're not doing much
Quite
for
right.
the consumer in South Africa. And so you've got Telkom, and it's not fair to say sitting on their laurels because they have been doing a lot of stuff. I had a Telkom engineer come past my house 2 months ago, sort of out of the blue, rang the bell. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "We're upgrading your whole area because we're preparing for 40 megabit per second ADSL." So obviously, I welcomed him with open arms. It's like, "Can I cook you something?" You know?
Give him a massage.
But he took a look at my sort of connection, and he said, "You're still on a very old copper line. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
So we need to come and install new copper." So I'm like, "Yes," but that was 2 months ago. I haven't heard from this end. So Telkom's doing stuff. They've been rolling out a hell of a lot of fiber. They're upgrading their network where they can. But I mean, ADSL is still only a reality for 4 million people out of 50 million in South Africa,
Yeah.
and that's the unfortunate truth, and it's probably going to stay that way until we see fiber solutions.
Yeah. But I think seriously, the next year, when we have this discussion in November next year, we're going to look back at this year and say, wow, we've come a long way.
It's true.
I agree.
Because that wax cable is seriously going to do serious
Although obviously
stuff
the
to our
problem
network.
is that as much as infrastructure develops, our needs develop far more quickly. So,
Yes,
if you
no
think about our
doubt.
data needs now compared to last year, I think they've grown more quickly than the networks have.
You're quite right.
So, obviously the problem is that, as much as it expands, we'll need to download more high-res HD movies. So.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. And, as soon as we start getting more video content being available, like the Netflix of the world and that sort of thing, I have no doubt they're going to be here.
Mm.
Well, the Netflix is a quarter of all US bandwidth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually,
just
it's
Netflix.
something like 30%, something ridiculous like that.
Right.
But they've launched their services now in the UK, or they're going to launch in the UK and in Germany, I think.
Yeah.
And when they come here, I've been playing around with my Apple TV, for example. And, I literally press a button and I'm able to download a high-definition movie. It takes about 10 or so minutes before it starts buffering. But when it starts coming down, it's pretty consistent. It doesn't stop. And you look at this and you think to yourself, you know what, there are some people in the market that see this technology happening who should be feeling quite restless right now, and rightly so.
Yeah.
The other thing that surprises me always is if you look at mobile stats for South Africa, YouTube is always in the top 5 mobile websites.
Right.
And still when our data costs what it does.
Well, Andy, it's
That's amazing.
the reason that is you must remember that one click on a video causes 1,000 times more bandwidth to be consumed than
But it's top 10
a
most
trillion
visited.
clicks on a website.
No, but it's top 10 most
Oh, is
visited.
it?
Yeah.
Oh, in terms
Yeah.
of
That's
impressions.
huge.
In terms of
Yeah.
impressions.
And the growth of that is amazing. If you chat to the guys from Google South Africa, they say over the last sort of 2-3 months it's grown by like 300% or something crazy.
That's amazing.
And it's BlackBerries. It's all BlackBerries and smartphones.
I kind of wonder how much traffic YouTube uses up in this country.
I think it would
gotta
be
be big.
quite substantial. Yeah.
all those people rewatching the
Well,
Hartebeest.
And this is what we've been watching happening for the last 2 years on this show and with the company that we formed that houses this show. We're launching another podcast. They're busy recording tonight. Won't talk about it yet. Maybe later this week. But we think we're riding the cusp of a wave. We think we're gearing up for something that's going to explode in this country once that bandwidth situation comes together. Because as you correctly said, Aki, when wax lands, well, it's already landed, but once we start seeing it have its impact on the market, it's good times if the domestic networks can catch up. And they're already there. Vodacom's got their Metro Ethernet rings.
Exactly.
MTN's got its next generation network. Neotel's got everything it needs to service consumers. They're just focusing on business at the moment.
Yeah.
It's happening. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
We're just impatient. And then, again, back to your point on Netflix and all of these services coming, it's just a matter of time before they abandon these retarded, moronic content licensing deals that they have with Hollywood and start pushing content to the whole world.
Yes.
And go, hey, wait a minute, instead of just making money in America, we can make it everywhere. Wow, gee, rocket science.
Now, you see what I found quite interesting is talking about these streaming services. Did you see that Disney signed with YouTube?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I think that's quite
that
interesting as
series
well,
that's
you
just
know.
gonna,
YouTube
fascinating.
are making a couple of big content players, paid content players,
Yeah.
and it's interesting.
How you twitch when you hear the word paid.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, we pay a lot more these days on the internet than we used to.
Well, maybe you guys do. I'm still too young and poor, sorry.
So anyone with an eye product pays a lot more than
Yeah.
they used to.
Geez,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
subscribed to so many services.
That's crazy.
If you can come up with a decent service, charge a recurring payment for it, that's
Yeah.
really kind of small micro payments. You can make a killing if you
You
get
can.
enough people. Because you
Actually-
sign up for these $5 a month, $1 a
Think
month, and
about
you
it.
forget about them.
Actually, I made my first sort of real app purchase this week, which was Evernote. I finally upgraded to Evernote Premium because it is the piece of software that I use more than anything else in my life, and I was hitting my cap every month. So
Right.
I paid for Evernote Pro. Yay. And it's honestly
Totally
the first paid app I think I've
Shared
used in
Notes
years.
is really cool.
Yeah, it's great.
Except Evernote doesn't handle collaboration as well as Google Docs does.
No, it doesn't.
No.
It kind of locks the document onto a user, and you have to wait for that person to finish. I know we use it for the show notes. We
Yeah.
actually need to switch to
I
Google Docs.
keep on getting my syncs kicked out.
Sorry, man.
It sucks.
We'll move
okay.
over to Google Docs.
I'll survive. No, Evernote needs to fix it. They're a superior note taking.
Right.
See, I do, as much as I'm anything but a Luddite, there is this very small part of me that always thinks, what if Evernote just crashed and all the data just disappeared because my life is in Evernote? Evernote. Absolutely everything
Yeah, I also
that
live
I've
in
ever
Evernote.
connected.
It's just so convenient. It's on all my devices.
Yeah.
Anyway, we want to talk about the tablet storm that's underway. New tablets being announced this week. We also want to teach you how to make Google do tricks. You probably heard about this week, along with a whole bunch of other stuff. But right now, it's time for a word from our sponsors. We've spoken about Vodacom already. Today they announced their interim results. And of course, we've seen that 38% growth in active data customers to 12.4 million. Group data revenue growth of 31.1%. And group data revenue represents 14.1% of service revenue. Maybe you're sensing a theme here. Vodacom is quite serious about data. And as we've already said, they've introduced their 20 gigabyte data promotion. It offers the lowest prepaid and top-up data pricing in the market and reduces the price of what it was before by 87%. Now, if you want to take advantage of this special from Vodacom, you get 20 gigabytes of data for 499 Rand. All you have to do is dial *111#, free from a Vodacom cell phone, and follow the prompts, or SMS MYGIG space 20, the number's 20, so MYGIG space 20 to 100, or go to vodacom.co.za, click on Sign into my account to register, log in, and follow the menu structure to purchase the promotional bundle. Now, lots of questions have been asked about how long these promotions last for. In what period of time do you have to use up that 20 gig? Well, in the words of Vodacom, and I'm reading this, all broadband advanced MyGig 20 prepaid and top-up once-off promotional bundles purchased will be valid until the last day of the next month. So if you buy a bundle that's purchased in November 2011, the bundle will be valid until the 31st of December, so until the end of the year. And if the bundle is purchased in December, it'll be valid until the 31st of January 2012, and so on. So there you go.
So it's just under 2 months.
Yeah. So you get it until the
end of the
next month. So if you buy it at the beginning of the month, you get 2 months to use it.
So that's for heavy users.
Yeah, so great promotion from Vodacom. Check it out, try it out, tell us what you think. And of course, we are very grateful to have Vodacom, proud and grateful to Vodacom for their support of the ZA Tech Show.
So, Si, if you get it just before it expires in January, it will last till the next 30 days after that, eh?
You should have it until the end of February.
Yeah.
To use it, so long as you signed up before the promotion ends. It'll be interesting to see what happens when they get to that time, and maybe they decide to extend it. Look, I mean, there are a lot of people at the moment who are paying 1,000 Rand for a very crappy fixed line service in this country, who will go, screw this, I'll give Vodacom 1,000 Rand, get 40 gigs a month.
Yeah.
Because you could do that, just get a bolt on when it runs out. I think they're going to see massive data shifting through this network between now and the end of February.
Absolutely, but people are still getting caught with big data accounts on their smartphones every month. I've actually become very conscious of what data my iPhone uses. For example, I've put this little app on it that basically measures the data, and you can actually do these tests. As soon as you start viewing a YouTube video or whatever you want to do,
you get an alert,
and you realize that these things are guzzling data.
It's unfortunately though, if you've just transitioned, for the first couple of months you end up using it like a dumb phone because you're too afraid to do anything with it.
Yes.
That happened to me my first month when I got my lovely little Android. I got whacked with this 2,000
but Android
Rand
is the worst,
bill.
eh?
Woo!
It just
for data usage, Android is the biggest hog.
and you don't know where it's
tweak
from.
everything back, but
you can tune it. But Android sucks up more data. Look, when it comes to saving money on data, Android still wins. BlackBerry still wins. Obviously,
yes, no doubt about that.
Like you're gonna spend less money there. But if you really want to see a jump up, I think Android must be the biggest hog.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting seeing. I mean, I've been testing Windows Phone. I haven't been playing a lot with Mango yet, though. What are you doing on your iPad, Andy?
The volume is off.
We're boring, so he's streaming video.
Watching videos on his iPad.
YouTube videos.
Like, screw you guys.
Yeah.
The volume is off.
Whatever, man.
Sure.
Make
Clearly
it stop.
not.
Watch your
How
porn
rude,
later.
Hi, I'm Alexa.
So you were saying before Andy
That's Siri
Hatfield rudely
So rudely
interrupted you.
interrupted. I can't even remember what I was saying.
No,
Maybe
you're
that
talking
means
about
it's
the
time to move
BlackBerry.
on.
What the hell happened to
Yeah.
the
Oh,
volume?
Android
switch?
versus
Anyway.
iPhone versus
You were talking
Windows
about
Phone.
Mango, yeah.
Oh, you're talking about Windows Phone, yeah.
Speaking of Windows Phone, this week Microsoft made a slight adjustment allowing manufacturers to ship phones without cameras, which is quite interesting. Trying to get, I suppose, some cheaper Windows Phone models out there. Because Microsoft's quite restrictive, and I actually agree with them in their demands on manufacturers. A lot of the fragmentation with Android is because it's a free-for-all. So, you get fast Android devices, slow Android devices, big, small, and weird-sized Android devices. He says, holding up a Samsung Note. But, it's all over the place. Whereas Microsoft has said, this is how big your screens are. They don't get bigger. These are how many buttons you have. You will have a camera. You will have that, except now. Oh, and minimum of 1 gigahertz processor, I think.
Yes,
You're not allowed to build a Windows phone with less than that.
But I tell you what, Windows Phone 7 is going to surprise all of us. And
It surprised me already.
I've been saying this all along from the moment I saw it. It is a fantastic operating system, and
It really is.
and they're going to do really well
Yeah,
with it.
yeah. It's just familiar enough as well. It's
Yeah.
new and it's cutting edge and it feels absolutely fresh, but it just has those small things that are familiar to people who, have been a little bit bewildered by the move to smartphones as well.
Well, exactly, and you know what it is? It's easy to use.
Yeah.
I find Android such a complicated operating system to use.
It really is. And it'll be interesting seeing. I mean, Ice Cream Sandwich seems to have refined things quite nicely.
Yes.
And it's also up to the manufacturers. I was playing with the Motorola Razr last week, the new one. What a phone. But so Motorola's done a lot of cool things that aren't cool. They're not in Android. But so, for example, they've got this new scenario app where you can tell it, when you detect this Wi-Fi network, switch off my Bluetooth because I'm at home or whatever. You can also give it times of day. So you can say between 10 and 6, Sam can phone me and Aki can phone me, but nobody else. You know? And you can really get granular with this stuff. You can say, when I get to my office, so when you detect this Wi-Fi network, dim the screen, set it so only these 4 people can phone me. Really clever stuff. Switch the Wi-Fi off, switch the Bluetooth on when I get in my car, that kind of stuff. If you can.
No, it's quite clever, and I love the way they've actually partitioned it so that you've got the enterprise side of it as well. So that when you do leave wherever you are, you just delete all the enterprise stuff off. So
and so the manufacturers, I mean, if you spend some time messing with Android, you can get it pretty good. But in its vanilla form, Android is a bit of a messy beast.
No, it is.
I don't know. I much prefer vanilla Android because the bloatware for me is what makes my.
Oh, you mean instead of TouchWiz or HTC
Absolutely.
Sense?
My favorite phones are the Google phones. The Nexuses. Those are the best Android phones because
I've said
they
that
are
on the
just
show before.
clean and lovely, and they work how Android is supposed to
But
work.
it's still messier than Windows Phone. It's still messier than iPhone.
Yeah, no, it is. It is, but also when you look at this week and you're just talking about smartphones, you look at BlackBerry's share price, dipping below where the company's value is.
Yeah.
One has to ask, what else have they got in store to kind of get their ship back up sailing again?
This
Yeah.
feels
That's
like
a
a
big
very
question.
negative show. We need to
Let's
talk about something
kittens.
positive.
This is all good positive. It's all good
I
times,
don't know,
man.
I'm feeling a little down.
Things are improving
Why
and
are
getting
Do you want a
better.
hug, Andy?
Tell us about it. How do you feel?
More
Have some more wine. It's better than a hug.
But
That should be on a
is,
t-shirt.
what's
wine.
frustrating?
It's better than a hug.
As a BlackBerry user as well, I test a whole lot of different devices. Have you guys tried to use the browser on a BlackBerry in South Africa?
Yeah,
it
I
is
don't.
so slow.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating.
Yes, we really
It's
are
actually-
complaining tonight, aren't we?
No, it's
what I'm
it's really
saying.
So,
frustrating,
the
and I
sun
don't
was
understand.
amazing
No, it's true.
today.
It's true.
Yeah. But anyway.
I've had friends. It's amazing. You blame devices for a lot of things where it's the network. So your battery life. Doing a lot of traveling, I find that my smartphones, their battery life will change from country to country.
Really?
Based on the
Interesting.
quality of the network.
That's interesting.
I
Makes
mean,
sense.
if a network's hasn't tuned their 3G properly, for example, your phone's constantly looking for towers. It affects your battery life. There were some phones that I remember guys doing tests and getting significantly better battery life on MTN than other networks, finding out that whatever, it was just the
Optimized,
network
eh?
in that area.
Very interesting.
Guys from Cape Town testing phones and getting better battery life there than guys in Johannesburg. And so like you say, browsing on the BlackBerry, is that the BlackBerry browser per se, or is it the network that you're browsing on? Is it the way that the gateway is being configured? Don't know.
Yeah, look, it's a whole host of problems. But that experience of browsing on a BlackBerry browser versus any other phone on the same network is not comparable.
Interesting.
And
Yeah.
it's frustrating. But I mean, if you're in Pofadder, for example, your battery life obviously lasts quite a bit. I wonder if they actually have 3G in Pofadder.
They
I'm
must
sure they do.
They
Must
probably
do.
do.
Sure
They
they
probably
do.
do.
Sure
Probably got
they do.
HSPA plus.
Let's go on a road trip and find out, guys. My car. Come on, let's go. Bring the wine.
So, from smartphones to tablets, Barnes & Noble this week
Yet
unveiled
another
the
tablet.
new Nook.
It's
Yet
good.
another
Good.
But,
Good
you
show.
know, with the price points we're seeing,
Yeah.
And with the content, I mean, it's all about content. The content agreements that we're seeing.
Yeah.
Busy rolling the video now. Engadget managed to get hands-on with the new Nook. Funnily enough, the first thing that loads is the Steve Jobs book on the. But okay. But yeah, interesting devices. What do we know about the Nook? Very similar to the Kindle Fire in a lot of ways. The video is frozen, but that's okay. We're used to this kind of thing, and we roll with it. Yeah, interesting space that. The Kindle Fire launches in 2 weeks from now. We'll see it for the first time.
It'll be interesting. So,
yeah.
I've gotten my hands on quite an interesting little tablet device this week. It's kind of the closest to a no-name tablet you're going to get. It's 1,000 rand.
Sold at Pick and Pay.
No, it's 1,000 rand. It's amazing. It's called the Colpad.
Okay.
It's a South African importer who's brought them in. They're definitely made in China somewhere. And I expected it to be horrible. And it's actually not that bad. And one of the things that makes it not so bad is that they've pre-installed all of the apps that you would install if you knew how to use Android. They've installed task killers, they've installed file managers, they've installed
That's
Dropbox,
That's
and
cool.
Kindle, Angry Birds. So for people who it's really their first experience with a tablet, it's very simple to use. It's all set up already. Yeah, it's slow. It's Android 2.2, but for $1,000, and this is now where you can buy them. It's great, perfect for Christmas presents if
Very cool.
you're a cheapskate.
I mean,
So give us the name again.
The Colpad. I'll
Colpad.
send you the link.
it's on colpad.com. I'm looking at it now.
Tabletworld.co.za.
We're going to see so much of this happening
Yeah.
over the next year.
It's
This is
exciting.
the cool thing, though, because
Yeah.
to enter yourself into the computer market, you don't need $6,000 anymore. You
Yeah.
need 1,000 rand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Which is
two
cheaper
very
than a
generous
smartphone,
friends.
That's a very good point, Andy.
No, it's a good, but the problem is there's no consistency in many of these products you're talking about. But what it's going to do is it's going to push
Does the
down
end
the
consumer
price.
mind?
No, they do.
Does that entry level consumer really
No.
care if it's Android 2.2 or Android 3?
I
No.
think you'll be surprised, at how many of them do.
Really?
Yeah.
But I think the software, I don't think too many are surprised personally, but I think it's the quality of the product that's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
But what it's going to do is it's going to drive down the price of the other manufacturers' tablets. So I think that, for example, the iPad that we are currently marketing in South Africa is surely going to drop in price in the first quarter of next year. It has to drop. And right now, if you buy an iPad in this country, interestingly enough, it actually works out cheaper than buying it in America.
Yeah.
Especially when you add your
Interesting, hey?
discovery discounts. This message not paid
Jeez,
for.
Or
by
you
Discovery.
buy it
If you buy it
through
through F&B,
F&B.
that's the cheapest way to get an iPad in the world.
F&B
$200
rocks.
$240 a month for 24 months
What
for
a
the
pleasure.
16 gig 3G. I think.
Yeah,
Interest
they'll
free.
only sell the 16 gigs,
Interest
though.
free for 24 months.
Yeah.
Wow.
So cheap.
That's a hub.
They're
Yeah.
not going to keep up with demand, though. There's no way.
Mm-mm.
They're going to sell more iPads than Core can push in. There's without a doubt.
They're
They
already
should-
saying that they're struggling.
I mean, they surely are going to become the biggest distributor,
Of
of iPads very shortly.
I love F&B. They have totally pushed the limits on what banks are doing in this country. Go
Yeah.
F&B.
No, it's very, very cool.
they're also planning something else today. Michael Jordan on Twitter tweeted that he wants to launch one more industry disruptive innovation before the end of the year.
Ooh.
He's like, we haven't kicked our competitors in the shins enough.
Huh. Should we go over there and tickle him
What do you
with a
think it's going to
comfy
be?
chair?
I think it's going to be something to do with
tell us.
data.
I don't know what it is. I mean,
It'll
F&B
be-
They already
Connect
have
is...
that, yeah.
So F&B Connect sent around a survey about 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
and it was all around what you want them to improve on. There was a lot of questions there about uncapped and whether they should
Yes.
bring the price down and things like that.
So I got the sense from Michael Jordan's tweet that it would be something in the banking industry. He said something disruptive for the industry, and I don't think he meant telecoms industry. I'm pretty sure he meant banking industry.
He's all about technology, though. So
Yeah.
marry technology and banking.
Interesting.
Sure.
You can teleport using ATMs.
NFC payments. ABSA's
Could
been
be.
talking about NFC
Well, they
payments
announced
this
that
week.
There just
morning,
aren't
didn't
enough
they?
cell phones or smartphones in South Africa that are NFC enabled. For
In
that
the
to
world.
really be interesting.
In the world, there aren't enough.
Yeah.
But
Although
certainly,
there's been- sorry.
but I'm saying certainly
Mm.
banking's going through these massive
Yeah,
transitions.
yeah, definitely one of those.
I mean,
industries.
the fact that I was today, I went to I was at my doctor this afternoon, and the fact that I could transfer money from one account to another in a matter of
Amazing.
seconds onto my credit card using my smartphone.
This is with the
So
FNB
cool.
With the
application.
FNB app.
So
You know,
cool.
I mean, how liberating is that?
Yeah.
And once again, it's almost like it's sort of the Apple approach of we didn't invent it, but we packaged it so well. I mean, I'll
Made
be
it
sitting
so
in front of
simple.
my computer and have to do some banking, and I will instinctively now grab my smartphone and quickly do it instead of I'm already on my computer going to the website and doing it. It's
Yeah.
just that
Crazy
good.
cool. But it's not just banking, it's every industry. So, I mean,
Yes.
there are hotels in Sweden that have now changed over to, well, not changed over, you can still get traditional ones, but to NFC room keys.
Oh.
You know, so that you don't have to go and check in. You just go and, you know, you get it, you know, the code gets delivered to your phone. You go and unlock your door. You check out on your phone as well. You pay for things in the hotel. It kind of gets credited to your room,
That's
all with
cool.
NFC. And that's you know, hospitality.
That's quite cool.
And travel, obviously, is one of those industries that's also been totally shaken up by smartphones.
Yes.
TV's being shaken up. Everything's changing. So exciting. We live in the future.
I mean,
So we're
when was
being
the
all
last time
positive.
you guys went into your bank?
Jeez, long
okay.
ago.
Well,
I
I'm-
had to go into Nedbank because I wanted to draw money out the bond, but that's the only time.
Yeah. I
I haven't been to a bank for ages.
Yeah, I've been for like a couple of years. I was thinking about it the other day. I walked past the bank and I thought, I can't remember the last time I walked into a bank.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I
for
was-
day-to-day banking, it's been ages.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can see how sort of explicit FNB's been with that strategy. They really don't want you to go into branches anymore. I mean, when you walk into some of the newer branches, you get that feeling as well.
Yes.
They've made it a very unfriendly. All the sort of compartments where the what do you want to call them? The guys who help you who aren't tellers sit. They've got these sort of rounded booths where you can't see the guys. You can't see if they're available. They've almost made it sort of, I don't know what the word is, unapproachable, unfriendly. They clearly don't want you there.
I think their branch design people would vehemently disagree with you.
Oh, no, definitely. But I think their executive layer probably would.
Yeah. They just deliberately hired.
You gotta
a very
remember
bad
that-
Why
company.
else would you be selling tablets at a loss?
No, I know, but like you've got to remember, we see, especially since Michael is so active on Twitter, we see this very thin technological layer. We're the slow lounge customers, but the massive proportion of a bank's profit still comes from the mass market,
That's true.
and that's ATM
Very,
and branch
very
or
true.
nada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very true.
All right. Let's do another short break before we continue our discussion. We still need to make Google do some tricks.
Yeah, I tried. It didn't trick for me.
Really?
On your
You've got
iPad.
instant
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it on your iPad or anything, but it does on a computer. But before we do that, let's talk about BlackBerry. Very interesting announcement this week. BlackBerry's been recognized by the International Medical Corps for its role in assisting humanitarian relief efforts. Now, the International Medical Corps is an amazing organization that does sort of first responder relief efforts with, emergency medical supplies and things all over the world. They do disaster relief. They've done it in Japan, in Haiti, and elsewhere. And they've just awarded BlackBerry for the role that it plays in the good work that they're able to do internationally. They've delivered more than $1.1 billion in relief to tens of millions of people in more than 65 countries. Besides what I mentioned, there was Bosnia, Rwanda, Afghanistan, Republic of the Congo, Darfur, South Asia, Pakistan, and the list goes on. So they've given BlackBerry this award, and some of the leaders of the International Medical Corps call it their lifeline. They use BlackBerry handsets in their relief efforts. They use it to upload pictures to social networks, to collaborate with each other. They find them very reliable, very hardy in the kind of terrain that they're working, and so they've given them this recognition, this award, for the role that Research in Motion, the makers of BlackBerry, play in their relief efforts. And so today we are probably prouder than ever to have the BlackBerry involved in the ZA Tech Show, and we thank them for their support.
That is
Very
very
cool.
cool.
And for contributing
cool.
to most of South Africa's mobile YouTube bandwidth.
Yeah.
It's funny when people ask me for mobile phone advice. You give them the highs and lows of all of what's available, because not everybody likes touchscreen keyboards, for example. The one thing that the other guys can't get around with BlackBerry in South Africa is always say, if you want to save money, You know, if you want the best value
Couldn't
phone,
agree with you more.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
if budget's important to
Yeah.
you, that's
Although,
that's
I mean,
where
we've
you
been
save.
hearing for ages that, other manufacturers are in talks with Vodacom and MTN. Aki, you might have heard more about this than I have. But, when that happens, that you remove, I think, 80% of the advantage that
Yeah.
BlackBerry has in our market.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely. But I had an interesting a few months ago. I spent a day with the police, and it's amazing how many of them are using BlackBerry devices, especially on the BBM, where they're able to simultaneously alert a whole lot of other guys about whatever they're working on. So, from that point of view, I do agree with you, Simon. I think that is, as a mobile device, if you're looking at something that's got great communication, but if you
Yeah.
want something more from it, unfortunately, it's missing that kick. But some people are content with it. As Andy says, and I always have to put myself in this position. Get out of that slow lounge mode.
Yeah.
Because we that 0.5% of the people in that slow lounge mode.
If you got one thing from the recent Tech for Africa conference, it's that bottom of the pyramid
Yeah.
way of thinking that we
Yeah.
need to adopt here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are way
Definitely.
too top of the pyramid.
Absolutely.
We lust after Silicon Valley
Mm.
instead of Nigeria.
Yeah.
Or
Ghana.
Uganda or Ghana,
Damn,
where some of the
Ghana's
really
doing
cool stuff is
True.
happening.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
SMS is still king.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where there's some very real needs that need to be met, it's
That's,
like
that's the thing.
Foursquare is the kind of application that gets developed in a country with no real problems.
Yeah.
It's like
Absolutely.
first world
Yeah.
problems.
I can check into restaurants,
Yeah.
KIF, and I'm not dissing Foursquare. It's a cool service, and I use it. But Ushahidi gets developed in a country that has real needs.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
the project in Africa that's most exciting for me is World Reader. They're delivering Kindles to underprivileged schools, and instead of building libraries, and they're massive NGOs in Cape Town at the moment that are campaigning really hard to build traditional libraries in schools, and there's so many problems with it. There's safety problems.
Right.
It's so expensive. It goes out of date. It needs to be staffed and manned. You give a kid a Kindle, you've not only given them access to the internet in the basic form, but you've given them a library. You've
Yeah,
given them the
that's so true.
entire Gutenberg library.
Can do
You've
amazing
given
things.
them local content. It's incredible what you can do.
On the Kindle, it's available in Incredible Connection now. It's interesting. I had somebody who used to work at Incredible Connection, and I remember last year I had a discussion. I'd forgotten about this. I had a discussion with her, and I gave her the contacts for Laura Porco, who heads up Kindle Books for Amazon. And I'd forgotten I'd even done it. And she emailed me last week, and she said, "You don't realize that you kind of caused us to put the Kindle into Incredible Connection, do you?" I was like, "No, but that's pretty cool."
It's awesome.
But
we
yeah,
should
so
all,
they're selling it now.
Yes.
Oh, really?
all of our parents should.
Are they
thank
selling the
Dingle.
new one?
The
$79
new entry
one.
level, yes, they're going to get it. Not yet,
Well, not
but
yet,
they're getting it.
I think the one
the
they've got
keyboard
is
one.
the one with the keyboard, the 3G
Yes, the
Wi-Fi.
The new one, though, or the old one?
no,
the
the
new-
new
the old
one.
one.
The new one.
The new shape
The new
keyboard
shape
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
The one that costs $139,
Yes.
I think,
The 6-inch.
And
Yeah.
competitive pricing?
I haven't seen the pricing on it.
2,500 Rand.
Yeah,
I've
it's
got the
probably
pricing.
cheaper than shipping it.
You know what it is? I did the whole calculation, and there's a lot of retards on Twitter when you start posting these things, and they go, "Oh yeah, it costs like this on the website." I said, "Dude, hang on a
Gotta
second.
think
What
about
it's charged on the US Amazon is not what the international shipping charges are. In fact, when you buy a Kindle, it's more expensive to bring it to your own country. So the $139 one works out to $179.
Yes.
Plus the taxes and shipping. So Incredible Connections, is about, I worked it out, it's about 20% more expensive. So it lands here. If you had to order it from Amazon, it would come in at about 2,150 Rand.
Okay.
And they're selling it for 2,500 Rand.
So it's convenient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more convenient to get it from Incredible Connection, but you still save some money ordering from Amazon.
Correct,
Yeah.
yeah.
I suppose there are still people who honestly just would have no idea how to go about buying a Kindle of Amazon, and it's actually not the easiest process if you're buying in South Africa. You've got
Yes.
to change the
Pretty
region.
easy.
And have you tried talking your parents through
So
it?
if you
Simon?
go to amazon.com/Kindle,
Yeah.
there's a box on the right that says buying from outside the US with a question mark. You click
Yeah.
on that, select South Africa, and you go through the order process. It's,
But, you say that,
maybe it
Simon.
could be easier.
But yeah,
You
it's
say that, but I agree with Sam.
Yeah.
There's this massive barrier that people put, and there's also the concern is that, I'm not going to give my credit cards online. It's amazing how
I
many
still know
people
lots
still
of
think
people
like
that.
that.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of my favorite videos that's been going around is if real life checkouts worked like online checkouts. Have any of you seen it? It's basically it's this dude who's going to the checkout at a supermarket, and they first ask him to read a verification code to check that he's human. They ask him for his login detail. Like, no, I'm sorry, you can't. It really enacts bad UX design on e-commerce forms beautifully. And it's hilarious. And I mean, you think, I would never go to that supermarket, and yet we expect people to jump through these incredible hoops online. And make it better.
So, should we talk about Kinect? Microsoft has been quite vocal. They put out a video about the hacks that are starting to happen with Kinect. I think you posted this video, didn't you, Sam?
Yeah. I just love people who think like hackers, or embrace people who think like hackers.
Yeah, which is not, what you kind of think of Microsoft as being, is it?
They've kind of embraced it. Even on the Windows Phone 7, some people have found some hacks to that as well. Yeah. And they said, cool,
This is a very different Microsoft from what it was in the 90s.
Yeah.
The Microsoft that was sued for antitrust with Bill Gates swearing about everything that wasn't Windows compatible. And this is a very, very different Microsoft. And one wonders, I mean, Ballmer's a bit of a chrap, but you wonder how much he has to do with it. He's been in charge of Microsoft with it launching things like Windows 7 and Windows Phone and Kinect and the Xbox doing as well as it has.
Yeah. But I mean, also Microsoft has changed to some degree, but also the world has changed. People are just better at finding ways around these things anyway. And if you keep fighting the legal battles,
But the thing is, I was privileged enough to go to Seattle to spend 10 days at Microsoft 2 years ago. And that changed my whole perception. They've got some really smart people working there.
Oh, hell yes.
That are driving some amazing technologies that, we're not aware of. And the antitrust and the piracy stuff and that aside. But, they've got some incredible technologies that they're working on. And, I'm kind of in two minds about what you said about Ballmer. He is a bit, But I'm also hearing interesting rumors that his days are limited.
Really?
Yeah.
So there's that coming out as well. So we'll have to see what happens with that company. But they look at their share price and how stagnant it's been over the last few years.
It's starting to slowly
it must
move.
Be a $5 share extra in the next 6-7 months.
Yeah.
No, we've seen it starting to slowly rise. And I think it's off of the back of Windows Phone more than anything else. Is investors are going, look, if they can get this mobile thing right, we're going to see a very different Microsoft emerge.
Market sentiment, it's amazing how it can change it. And they look at their price earnings ratio. It's, I mean, you look at the share price.
But this such emotional
this
things.
Kinect
It's amazing.
Video is interesting because they don't show gaming. They show the hacks that guys have done. They show a guy in a planetarium, if you're not watching the video, in a planetarium sort of manipulating these images on the roof. They show doctors using it in medicine to look at x-rays and get patients to play games to kind of interact with. But this stuff all drives the sales of Kinect. That seems to be the emphasis from a Microsoft perspective, is we don't own this ecosystem that's emerging. We don't own these hacks that people are making, but we sell that hardware, which is quite lucrative for us.
It comes back to, with Siri, a lot of people are talking about how, we're getting a glimpse into what the UI of the future is. It's voice and touch and gesture.
Yes.
And I think that's why this thing is so exciting. And you think about technology from a global perspective as well, and you're dealing with so many people who are illiterate and semi-literate. And when this technology finally does filter down and you're controlling things with gesture and voice,
very, very true.
It's so powerful.
And
I think we give Siri a hard time. I mean, because we're going to look back in 10 years' time and go, it all started with Siri. Like we look back at the ZX Spectrum now.
Well, that's, and that was also in the news this week. Eric Schmidt saying that he sees Siri as a threat to Google in the long term.
Yeah, I mean, you posted something on Twitter. You were saying that, Siri could be a Google killer. And when you look at all these technologies that we've been talking about the last few minutes, you kind of realize that, hang on, Google is actually a bit vulnerable.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've been talking about this a lot, and I get great reactions from it with what Siri could be. I always use the comparison of Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and Marvin the Paranoid Android and his brain the size of a planet. But Siri has a brain the size of a planet, And just the execution of Siri has been so good. In the news this week, we've seen some hints that Apple is prepping Siri for older devices, so they'll roll it back to the iPhone 4, maybe even the 3GS, onto the iPad. It's clearly going to become part of OS 10. And you look at the possibilities for Siri. It's the first, and anybody who knows about speech recognition, when you speak to speech recognition geeks, this is difficult to do.
Yeah.
Okay? The barrier to entry is not low. Google has tried this stuff with voice search and building voice into Android. It hasn't worked very well. It's been impressive, but it's not on the level of Siri.
Yeah.
And so Apple is kind of kicked it so far ahead of the rest of the market.
Yeah.
And if they carry on this trajectory, and Stephen Wolfram was good friends with Steve Jobs, and they were working on sort of Siri and it interacting with computational knowledge engines.
Wolfram Alpha.
Yeah, Wolfram
Yeah.
Alpha specifically.
I love that. I love that
So
piece
exciting.
of software.
Yeah.
And this is beyond search. This is discovery. This is the things we really need.
Yeah.
It's
It's really
interesting.
interesting to think about search fatigue because, Google is such a core part of everyone's lives now. I think it's difficult for us to see beyond Google, but it has to. People are tired of kind of filtering through all that data.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting, if you look at the Alexa rank page on Google.com, 18 to 25-year-olds are underrepresented as Google users. They're using Google less, people who are growing up into the internet. They're more interested in finding things through social networks, through networks, through aggregation. They have less patience for Google, and which is really just a better Ask Jeeves, really.
So Eric Schmidt touched on that as well.
Yeah.
He said Apple Siri is a significant development. I'm reading this from CNET. He said it's a significant development of voice-activated means of accessing answers through iPhones that demonstrates the innovations in search. He said Google has many strong competitors, and we sometimes fail to anticipate the competitive threat posed by new methods of accessing information. But then he goes on, Sam, to talk about social search and the importance of that. And he says the importance of social networking to consumers' online experience has changed remarkably, even over the past year. He said consumers are looking for answers when they conduct searches online, and social search has become a serious competitor in helping people find those answers.
It's really interesting.
So, Google knows what's going on here.
Oh, absolutely.
Of course.
And
This is why Google Plus.
Bill Gates said this many years ago.
Yeah.
He said that the moment that technology becomes mature enough that you're able to tell your computer what to do, like Siri is, that's where the game changer is.
Yeah.
And I'm just so excited about it.
I must say, more and more, even when I'm on a laptop, I go to Quora for questions rather than Google. Yeah.
Quora is an amazing resource, eh?
It's amazing how often Yahoo Answers pops up in my search results
But
as well.
the content is terrible.
Yeah.
For the most part, it is.
Yeah, Quora actually has really, really good
It's
content.
fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah. It's limited.
It's
but
just
it'll
interesting
grow.
to me. Yahoo jigged something from an SEO perspective where
Yeah.
Do you
they
think
just show
Yahoo
up all the
out-Googled
time.
Google?
Have any of you guys tried Blingo, which
No.
is the
Yeah.
Android version of
Yeah.
Siri?
Oh yeah.
Apparently,
Lingo.
it's
Yeah,
not
it's-
as,
it's
not
pretty
as
good,
eh?
apparently.
Is it
Um,
okay?
I don't know. I'm very unimpressed with it.
I saw somebody
played.
using it on their BlackBerry who lives by it, but whatever.
Yeah.
How many BlackBerry app compensation apps have you downloaded?
Not many. Eh?
There's some actually very good ones there. Hey,
Mm.
there's some really cool apps there, by the way. But
And there's some games as well. I'm trying to remember the list. We went through it on the show when they announced
Yeah,
that list.
but they
These are the
also-
applications that Research in Motion gave to users who were compromised during their outage.
but they're releasing them one by one.
Yes, yeah.
But there's some
But they're
good
premium
ones.
apps,
Yeah,
There's some
there's
good stuff there.
Yeah, some very good
What did
stuff.
they say?
there.
$100 worth of apps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
I
In,
mean,
in
some
the
of the
world of
apps-
$1 and $5 apps, that's a lot.
Listen, I did the calculation. It works out more than $100 on South African terms because some of them are like $600. There's
Wow.
one that's $600.
What app is that?
It's I'm just trying to remember what it's. I'll let you know
You've
now.
got to get some
100
porn
rand
for
app.
600 rand or something. Good grief.
SP in the chat room says, if I want to know something, I ask YouTube. Nice. I like
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
Just
more and
one-
more people these
Yeah.
days do. Second biggest search engine in the world, people.
It's YouTube, yeah.
Mhm.
So one last word on those on Quora and those kind of question answer things. You know what I found myself doing recently is I've started quoting in presentations complete unknowns
Yeah.
because they surface with things like Quora and Yahoo Answers and all those kind of things. So I'm putting these complete nobodies down
Yeah.
as proper quotes because they've said something really good that they never ever would have got
It's
airtime
the
before.
Jungian collective
Which is kinda
subconscious,
cool.
really. You
No,
know,
I-
it
I
exists
love
on
it.
the
It's
internet.
It's very
yeah.
cool. Hey?
Yeah.
That kind of 2.5 seconds of fame.
What's like your favorite unknown quote?
The problem with quotes on the internet is you can never trust their authenticity by Abraham Lincoln.
Well played.
Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
I had a much nicer one on social business. I'll read it to you during the picks.
Abraham Lincoln. All right, Abraham Lincoln quotes aside. Shall we move on to our picks of the week?
Aren't we going to make Google do some picks first?
Oh, well,
Yeah.
so that could be a pick, I suppose. I'm not going to pick it, but you can make Google do a barrel roll. There's all sorts of cookies hidden in Google.
Tilt is another one. If you
Yeah,
type
tilt.
tilt and go, I'm feeling like
If you're watching the video, I'll do it. I'm not sure if they've got my screen up at the moment, but if you type do a barrel roll into your Google search bar and you say search, off it goes. Come on.
One of our
you
clever
have to do it? Do you
PPC
have to
guys
refresh?
ran an ad for Happy Feet 2 around
Okay,
the
wait.
barrel roll.
Bear with
It's
me.
clever.
So it literally makes the Google website do a barrel roll.
Can
When,
someone show
when
me
was this discovered? Yeah, you can come look over. Yeah, do a barrel roll there. There we go. Did the barrel roll. I hope I had the video up while that happened. Anyway, it's the small things in life, people. It only works on desktop browsers.
Oh my god, we are obsessed
We just
with
waste-
some
we just wasted
insignificant
time.
So true.
shizness.
Okay, picks of the week, Andy Hadfield. Bring us back.
My word.
What you picking, sir?
So I'm picking a very simple website, but more of a concept.
What does the internet think?
Yeah, what does the internet think? .net, I think it is. And so why this is cool is it basically goes and scans Google search results and Bing search results and Yahoo search results
Shall I
and
do
tweets.
a vanity search on it?
Yes.
Well, let's say Andy Hadfield. We'll do one for you.
Okay, you can compare me with Julius Malema, who I have up here.
Search for Andy Hadfield.
You just have I don't care results.
Okay, negative, positive, don't care.
Yeah, and it puts it into negative, positive, and don't care based on sentiment
You got
analysis.
no results, my friend.
Yeah, I think it's a bit broken. There's
Yeah.
got to be some
I
results
don't know.
there.
There've been other things like this. These sort of
there's
sentiment
lots.
tools on the
we
internet.
do
And it's
mean-
never very accurate. 'Cause,
Tons.
like,
There's-
you can't, the internet doesn't read sarcasm.
Okay, so give us the
Siri
gist of
does.
it. What's it supposed to do?
Well, essentially, it's
I got no results either.
Julius Malema has 73% negative, 26% positive, and 0% don't care. George Bush has 60% negative,
Aki
30%
Anastasiou.
positive, etc., etc.
He's famous.
So
It's taking a long time to think. Aki.
Oh, and just
trolling.
seeing all these hundreds and thousands of comments,
Nothing.
dodgy
Nothing.
photos.
So look, there are hundreds of these. There's
Let's do
twins
Jacob Zuma.
and there's Twitter aggregators and a whole
Not
bunch of stuff.
Jacob.
I think what it is, Simon, is that the website's not. It's breaking a little because I tend to refresh, and then it gives me a result.
Oh, I see.
But anyway, this is part of a much bigger concept, which I'm really excited about now, and that's this idea of what we can do when we analyze the reams and reams of data that we're putting into the internet.
Yeah.
And I think that's really exciting. It touches on the big data concept. There were a lot of talks about big data at Tech for Africa. And more than that, and I'll read you an unknown quote from a guy who writes for Fast Company, just what did they call him? An expert blogger. And what really excites me is when you apply social data to business.
Right.
And the quote goes something like this: while social media has helped many companies become more customer-centric, it is treated primarily as a modestly effective marketing tool. With social business, you start to look at the way
You know
people
why
are
I think that is, though?
interacting.
Is because it's a moderately useful.
Well, exactly. It's a moderately successful marketing tool.
Uh,
If you put a dancing cat there, it goes viral. If you don't, it doesn't. And
don't
that's
know.
kind of how it works. But just to end off, with social business, you start to look at the way people are interacting in digital experiences and apply the insights derived to a wide variety of business processes.
yeah.
Okay.
So it's
It's like
applying
predictive
analysis and
modelling
insights.
and, yeah,
Predictive modeling,
yeah, really exciting
big data
stuff.
scanning.
Well, this thing can't find Barack Obama either, so
No, it's
suddenly I'm
clearly
not feeling
broken.
so bad.
Yeah.
No, the website does have some bugs. But there are hundreds
Some
of others.
bugs.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. Let's turn it into all because
Just hit refresh and
It
you'll
doesn't help. I just
Hit
tried.
refresh and you'll
Yeah.
find.
Andy, there's a great article in the McKinsey Quarterly, quite recently about big data.
No, it's
Alrighty.
exciting stuff. And it's one of those what's the space? Like finally we're starting to make sense of all the nonsense that we put into social media.
Okay. Cool. Sam,
I, for once in my life, am going to pick only one thing.
what?
I know.
You've
shocker.
already spoken about your coal pad.
Yeah, my coal pad's cool.
Oh, yeah.
I'm surprisingly
Oh,
keen on
yeah.
it. It's isitold.com. Very simple, straightforward, single-minded app. And I think that this is another trend we're seeing. You know, as you have more and more
Where do you find
Facebooks
this
and Google
stuff,
Plus.
lady?
I live on the internet.
Yes, you do.
It's cool there. There are lots of cats and porn. Often together.
Cats and porn.
Yeah.
There's
Anyway.
a show
The
title.
thing Sam
Is it old?
lives for.
Is it old? Basically tells you how many times the link you're about to share on Twitter has already been shared on Twitter.
Oh, my website
like,
it says
are you-
ridiculously old.
That's
Aw.
good. It means people have shared it because
Oh,
they're so
rad.
excited
Okay.
about it. So it's great, because people like me who spend a lot of time, Google hopping from place to place and following link trails into the dark netherlands of the internet. You've come across these things and you think, this is so cool.
This
No one
could
else
be
has ever
handy.
seen this. And then you check, is it old? And you realize, wait, this was
On
very
my
cool in
website,
99.
it says this is starting to seriously smell. Watch it and move on.
But the problem is you need Is It Old Africa?
Yeah.
Because there's Is It Old
Yes, right.
Silicon Valley and there's Is It Old Africa, and the two are completely different.
What are you using there, Sam?
I'm
What
going to
browser are you
vanity
using?
myself on
Chrome.
this.
Are you using Chrome?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you guys all
I
using
just
Chrome?
have
Andy
Windows.
Hadfield.
I use Chrome
Firefox.
because of its Gmail interface, which is just
Yeah.
works so much better.
Do you like the new Gmail settings? by the way?
I haven't
Well,
played much
there's
with
a new
it.
UI to Gmail.
It's
Yeah.
okay. It doesn't
I
rock
don't
my
like
world.
it, eh?
Yeah.
I'm not.
The one that's really upset me is Google Reader.
You guys don't
That
like
new UI.
change.
No, but Google Reader is objectively worse.
But it's got. I'll tell you what. There's been a massive outcry.
yeah,
Eh?
yeah,
What are the Gmail UI upgrade?
No, the Google Reader.
yeah.
Yeah, Google Reader's pretty
really,
much
oh, they've killed it.
gone.
Yeah.
Why did they
Nobody
do
cares
that?
anymore. Do you
Yeah.
think
Well,
they'll
they want
change
you
it
to use
back?
Google Plus.
Do you think they'll change it back like Apple did with
I don't know.
Final
People
Cut?
are already
Yeah.
finding the kind of the ways around it, but what used to take one click now takes
Mm.
3, which is so annoying.
Yeah, not cool.
So, Si, my my vanity search on isitold.com. Really old. How did you miss this? Do not send. It's been tweeted
you go.
6
You see?
times already.
We've just saved you.
The first time was 870 days ago.
Nice.
Wow.
I'd prefer more than 6 tweets, but anyway.
Alright. Okay,
I
nice.
like it. Nice,
Okay.
Sam.
Aki, do you have a pick this week?
Yes. You know what? It's an app that I'm
Okay.
sure you guys have discussed. Is Instapaper. I don't know if you've discussed.
I was going to pick
Instapaper.
it.
Very cool.
I actually.
Been around for a while, but
no,
it just
it
gets
has
better
been.
and better.
But
It's the aeroplane
You know,
tool.
it's amazing. I like your analogy of the slow lounge because I show that to people and it blows their mind away. You know, we lead such busy lifestyles that if you can click on something that you can't read immediately and read it much later
Yeah.
at your own leisure, it's a massive benefit.
So
to
have
me.
you compared it to Read It Later? Because I've got I paid for Read It Later Pro.
Yes, I
I
haven't
like
actually.
Read It Later. And I'd like somebody to compare them for me because it sounds like Instapaper's better. And Instapaper will also send things to your Kindle to read offline, which is quite cool.
Yeah,
Does,
absolutely. And you know, whether you're using an iPhone or an Android phone, for example, if you've got something on Twitter that you see catches your attention, you click on the link and it'll open the sub menu and you click Instapaper.
Yeah, you can do it with Read It
and
Later as
saves
well.
it straight off there, which is quite cool. And I find that very, very
Yeah.
useful.
The one thing I wish Read It Later could do was download videos and store them for offline viewing. Because
Yeah.
you know where you're going to use this thing, of course, is when you're flying.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's where I use Read It Later mostly, is I
Yeah.
do a Read It Later sync before I get on the plane, and then I've got all my articles and stuff waiting
Yes.
to read, but it
Lovely.
won't
Yeah.
do video.
See, I'm really upset that Mango Airlines are going to have Wi-Fi in them now because that was such sacred work time. You know, those 2-hour
Yeah.
flights down to Cape Town.
Yeah, and Wi-Fi is distracting.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get work done anymore.
Yeah.
Screw that, get me online on the plane.
I tell you, I had such fun. On
You know, we're
Wi-Fi.
just going to see all these tweets of, I'm 35,000 feet in the air and I'm tweeting.
Yeah, but it won't
You
last.
are, bro.
No, but the best was
It won't last long.
I was flying last year. I was flying to Las Vegas in December, and they had some promotion where they had free Wi-Fi with Google on board some of the aircraft, and I was phoning people on Viber
Cool.
from flying over 30,000
That's
feet over
awesome.
Oklahoma. I
Very
even phoned
cool.
Shap Shack and I said, guess where I am? Oh, dude, I'm just woken up. I'm gonna hang out. I said, where am I? So you couldn't believe I was flying
that's
overhead
Well,
Oklahoma.
I had the opposite. I Skyped my wife. And I said, I'm Skyping you. And she said, yeah, I see so. I said, from a plane. She was like, okay. And
Okay.
Yeah, and
it's like, okay, never
You
mind.
do all this weird
Where's
Skype
Shaq
stuff,
Skype address?
Simon.
Let me Skype him.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's going to change a lot.
My
of
wife's
things.
not easily impressed. It's like, yeah, whatever, it
She's been
levitates and
married
spits
to a
out
geek for
diamonds.
But
too long,
the best
clearly.
thing I had on a recent flight flying down to, I don't know where I was, going to Port Elizabeth.
Yeah.
And SAA were doing this big survey, they were trying to work out who's using what phone on what network, so they were trying to work out, if the 3G interferes and all that. So when you take off, they say, please, they give you this whole instruction on turning your phone off on flight mode.
It frustrates me.
And then you do that, and then they give you the survey at the end of it. And they say, which mobile network are you using? Like, what difference does it make to your survey?
My phone
I
was
hate the
off.
way that the air hostesses present their announcements as fact.
Yeah.
They go, please turn off all your electronic devices. They can interfere with the operating of this
Show me the
aircraft. You're
proof, woman.
No, they can't, you liars. It's been proven
And the
that they
proof
can't.
is, as you're starting to land into our Tamil, you're hanging beep, 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 beep.
Yeah, all the phones.
Yeah.
Well, that's it, right?
Nobody turns their
Of
phone
the
off.
literally hundreds of thousands of commercial flights every day, you know how many phones must be on for the full duration of the flight, and not one of them has fallen out of the sky.
No, but the reason they do it, again, there's the illusion of security, which is why half the airport stuff is like it is. And the other one is that in the event of an emergency, they don't want you nattering away on your Viber to Toby Shapshack, where you should be putting your head between your legs and screaming for mercy.
All right.
That's what they should
Mr.
really
Hadfield.
go through in the
This
kind of
message brought to you by
instructions.
SFD.
I'll tell you what does suck is, like the person sitting next to me while I was Skyping my wife can't have been loving it. You kind of want people to shut up while you're on the plane. You're like, eat your peanuts.
Dude, as
Yes.
long as they're
Watch
not
the
trying
movie,
to talk to you, that's
shut
okay.
up. Because I'm just trying here, trying not to get deep vein thrombosis and get to my destination in peace. Like, I don't want to hear you talking to your wife or your friend or your...
No, I'm sorry. As long as they're not showing you
Or Toby
photos of their
Shapshack.
grandkids,
But I
then
must
it's
tell you,
fine.
it took a 5-hour flight, and it made it feel like a 2-hour flight.
Oh, no, for sure.
Yeah. it
And you
really-
know what the killer app is going to be for long flights? World of Warcraft.
Oh, yeah.
It's like-
Die!
12 hours to the States and I hit 5 levels.
you're like, I can't wait for that 24-hour flight.
Yeah, but
man.
battery life, man. How do
Bring
you do
it
battery
on.
life?
Well, if you're in business class, plug in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think mPower is going to become something that you start to see in economy class as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
There already is on some carriers that you can
I mean,
already...
all of Qatar Airlines have got a USB port. You can charge your device while you fly in economy.
Not laptop, though.
Mm.
But it's getting
Well,
there.
yeah.
It's getting there. And soon you won't need your laptop. Because you'll
World
just
of-
plug it into your brain.
World of Warcraft iPad edition. Do you think it'll ever happen?
No, not precise enough.
World of Warcraft what? iPad
iPad
edition.
edition.
Well, Blizzard doesn't like anything that's not a computer pretty much. They
But just think about it. You'd smash your finger because the more excited you get at killing the things, the harder you're going to
But
whack
have you
the
tried Fruit
iPad.
Ninja? It's the same thing.
There's some MMOs for the iPad that are very similar to World of Warcraft that work very well.
Yeah,
I can't
I've
think
heard
of one
about
to name.
them.
What's the one called? Chaos Rings? I don't know.
I've heard
I
about them.
think I could be wrong about that. So, it's doable. I just don't think Blizzard wants to. They're very much for the immersive desktop game, and that's who they...
Paid 30,000 Rand for the game.
I remember they had an
PC.
April Fool's joke like 2 years after World of Warcraft came out. It's amazing how old that game is and how popular. But anyway,
It's
about
time for
they
Simon's.
they had an April Fool's joke that they said World of Warcraft is coming to consoles, and they had a video, and when you clicked on the video, it had like these 8-bit console graphics, like Pac-Man level graphics.
It's awesome.
Not gonna happen.
It's
Anyway,
time for Simon's pick of the week.
We've been waiting
And I see he's
anticipation.
grabbed the Galaxy Note.
I don't
Is
know
it-
if this is a
it
pick
true?
or a pick
Oh,
on. I don't know what to make of this thing, but it is the Galaxy Note. This is this new 5.3-inch device that Samsung has launched. It's basically a really big Galaxy S2, right?
Or a
Yeah.
very small tablet.
Or yeah, so they said they've designed this for the kind of person who doesn't want to carry a smartphone and a tablet around.
Dude, I know exactly what that is. The canine accessory of tablets.
The canine accessory of tablets.
It's the poodle
Quote,
that sits in your
Yeah.
handbag.
Have a look at
Can
my
I
one.
tell you something?
It's the penis
I don't know
inventor.
about you, Simon, but when I first saw it at the launch, I said, "Puh, puh."
Yeah, but
It's
when you
actually
use
growing
it,
on me.
it is growing on me. I'll tell you why. It's great for reading. Today I had a flight from Cape Town and I was watching An Idiot Abroad, which is one of my new
It's
favorite series.
hilarious.
Carl Pilkington. Anyway, I was watching video on it. It's really great for video. You feel kind of stupid doing this, right? Because it's like, where did Simon go when you answer the phone? But it works as a phone, and it's not too big. It doesn't do very well for one-handed use. But it's also grown on me, Aki.
Yeah.
And then they've included a stylus, and this is one of the interesting things about it. Is this, on capacitive touch screens, you usually need one of those rubber-nibbed styluses, and they're just too big for sort of fine drawing or proper doodling or whatever. The stylus on the Samsung Note has a really fine tip. And you can do, some of the artwork that they've got this S-Memo app that comes with it. It's impressive what you can do with this. You can really doodle on it,
Yes.
I was telling a friend of mine who's a developer some ideas I had for an app when I was in Cape Town now, and I was doodling on the Note, and it was not as good as paper, but it was certainly better than a capacitive touchscreen with one of those big fat rubber things. So for note taking, I could see it being cool.
Doesn't the battery life last like 30 seconds
the battery's
with a screen
terrible.
that size?
Yeah, no, the battery's
How
terrible.
can you launch a device that has a crappy battery life in the world of iPads?
Yeah, I suppose.
I mean,
But yeah,
forget the technical specs.
The
It's about
screen's
human
remarkable.
envy. It's about talking to your mate and going, "Oh, this battery lasts half an hour," and he goes, "Well, mine lasts 12."
Look, it's not that bad.
No, but
it'll last the whole day.
Yeah.
It'll last the whole day. If you're going to be a heavy user and do photographs and all that, it doesn't last.
The
as
camera's
long.
very good.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I also had the same, exactly the same as you, Aki. The first time I saw it, I thought, "Who the hell's going to buy this?" And then I
Yeah.
started using it, and it's actually grown on me.
And you know what you realize as well? You realize that there's a market for all of these things. Because I know a few people who've been waiting for this device for months.
Yes, so do I.
And I think to yourself, but why? And you can understand why.
Yeah.
It kind of fits into a certain segment of the market. And I think that also Samsung have got this technology and they've got the factories that are making this thing that they can afford to just bring out a plethora of different size tablets to
Sure.
suit every segment of the market.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
what's the name of that tablet again?
Samsung Note.
Samsung Note.
Yes. Samsung's being very aggressive. Vodacom rolled out a special this week that I saw yesterday. You get a Galaxy S2 and a Galaxy Tab 10.1, so the
Yes.
big one, together for less than $500 a month on a Vodacom
With
contract.
data.
With data.
And
I
mean,
don't know how much data. I can't remember.
And
but-
MTN had something similar. They had the Note together with a LCD TV, a 43-inch TV, for the first 600 people who bought the Note.
Samsung's being very aggressive.
Yeah,
Interesting.
very aggressive. But just coming back to that Note, I mean, the price of it is $8,500. That device costs $8,500.
Yeah, look, it's an expensive
Note.
device.
Yeah,
problem.
that- out of a contract, of course.
But Andy, I honestly, I mean, to do a proper review of this, I can't just go and write my what my gut feeling. I need to test it, and so I've been carrying it around as a phone and a tablet instead of carrying around a phone and a tablet, and
Yes.
it's working for me because the things I used my tablet for, to be honest. I tried to work on a tablet and make it sort of my traveling computer.
Yeah.
It wasn't good enough. So I found where I really used my tablet once again was in an airplane watching videos, reading magazines, that sort of stuff. And this is quite doable as your only device.
Yes.
Interesting.
It fits in a
Yeah.
pocket. It's not too big for that.
See, I find I've got an HTC Flyer, which is, it's a similar mindset in that it's very much geared to work with a stylus.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's less accurate, but you can also have a lot of fun, and that's very much what it's
Yeah.
built for. And I find it's the best thing for meetings because you're not blocking yourself off with a laptop. You can go and sit and chat to people.
I've also
and kind of
found
take
that.
notes. And yeah, maybe that would do the same thing.
11-inch MacBook Air also works for that.
Yeah, and that's, I don't know. Maybe I'm overreacting, but when you're $8,500, you're competing with a netbook that costs $3, an iPad that costs $6, a powerful laptop that costs $6.
Yeah. One of the killer things for me with that is just the one-handed use. You can't really use it with one hand. It's
But also, you're
Oh, my
talking about a
thumb is
netbook.
stretching.
You're talking about a netbook. You look at the quality of that camera and the quality of the screen.
The screen's beautiful,
Yeah,
but
it is magnificent, and the camera is pretty decent as well. It shoots great video as well. So
yeah.
look, you know what? On the positive side, you've got to hand it to Samsung. They are fighting. They are really, really launching stuff. They're working hard. They're innovating, and they're the only player that is coming close to what Apple is able to do.
exactly.
So you've got to give them kudos for that.
Which is
And-
why they're getting the pantsuit off them as
Yeah.
well.
But I
I'm
mean,
interested
look
to
at
see
the weight
Motorola
of that,
come to
eh?
the back, but-
Yeah. I mean, how's the weight of that device?
It's
Yeah,
incredible.
right.
For the size of it and what it does, it's phenomenal.
All right, guys, shall we wrap up the show?
Mm-hmm.
It's been great having you all here. This was lots of fun. Thanks for the wine, Andy Hadfield.
Absolute pleasure.
It's Andy Hadfield with a D.
with a D.
.com.
You got to give out that wine as well. I mean, everyone's been. We've been
Yeah, I
raving
did.
about
I'll
the
do it
wine.
again. It's a 2010 Clos Malvern Le Café Pinotage.
Very
It's
nice.
about
Yeah.
70, $80 a bottle, so a little bit pricey.
It tastes like
quite
that
nice.
cafe culture thing, but smoother.
Oh, no, Samantha.
So I told you I'm a wine pleb. I did say this.
Anyway, real-time wine. That's here today. Plug that stuff up.
Thank you very much, Andy. Sam, thanks for being here. Sam Beckbessinger from Quirk.
Such a pleasure.
At Greenham_Sam on Twitter.
That's
Do you have
the
any
one.
websites you want to plug?
No.
No. All right. Aki Anastasiou.
Thanks, guys.
Put an ad in front of that on Twitter.
Thank
How do you
You
spell
can work
that,
out how to
though?
spell it.
Could you
I
not
know,
get
I-
at Aki?
ANA.
Did you try?
You know what? There's one dude, I don't know, some Japanese dude that's got AKI, He registered at the beginning, and I can't get it. But I was thinking of doing Aki 702, but it cuts down
it
140
weights,
characters. My surname.
And also, you, Aki Anastasiou, man, they just 702.
Yeah. Anyway, listen. Thank you guys. But no, thanks for inviting me. It's really lekker being here.
Yeah.
And you can find me on my tech show, Technobytes, on Facebook as well. I update it every day.
Yeah. Technobytes every
On
Monday.
every Monday
on
afternoon,
702. What time?
It's at 10:02.
Cool. And they do stream it on 702.
Yeah, it's on the podcast.
And you podcast it as well, don't
Yeah.
you?
Actually, if we have a quick moment, I did something very interesting today. Anansi
Yeah.
introduced something very interesting. You can Anansi,
the SA search engine.
Yeah.
they've
Oh,
coupled
wow.
together with a Finnish company and supported by the Finnish government. They've introduced this search engine where you can search for, like, let's say you're searching for a car or any kind of classifieds. You search for one thing and it looks on every single classified search engine in the country.
Very interesting.
And it brings out the results. And there's jobs as well. There's, any kind of classifieds. So they've got 72 different online classifieds.
How well does it work,
Very
though?
cool.
I tested it. I was
It's
looking
tech
for
search.
cars, for example.
So it'll look for Gumtree and...
Gumtree,
Does it
Auto
scrape?
Trader, you name it.
Does it scrape or does it have agreements with these people?
Apparently, no, they don't have the agreements. Apparently, it replicates the sites in some way, and it updates
Scrapes.
it every hour. It scrapes.
Yeah.
But I find it quite interesting. It's anansi.co.za/ads. I'd be interested to know what you guys think of it.
Cool, yeah.
It's-
So check
We'll
it out.
see,
Check it out.
yeah.
Yeah, dude, scraping is the future. It just completely disintermediates everyone.
Yeah.
It allows anyone to launch anything with anyone else's data.
Interesting
Cool.
to watch that legally. Anyway,
Oh, yeah.
let's not get
It's
onto
the-
a
it's
whole
the
nother
Flipboard story.
conversation.
All right. Well, thanks for being here, guys. I'm away next week. I'm off to Stockholm, but Brett Haggard will be at the helm.
The life you lead, Simon Dingle.
It's
One would think you did not have a wife
getting
and
a bit
two
hurtful.
children.
It's getting a bit much. But anyway, let's not go there. Thanks so much for being here. Sam Beckbessinger, Andy Hadfield, Aki Anastasiou. I'm at Simon Dingle. Brett's here next week. This was episode number 184 of the ZA Tech Show. If you want to get hold of us, find out more, go to zatech.co.za. The ZA Tech Show is made possible by Vodacom, of course. Power to you at vodacom.co.za, and by BlackBerry. Love doing business on your BlackBerry smartphone at blackberry.co.za. Until next week, cheers. That was good fun.
Cool, yeah.
Lekker.